World War I, often overshadowed by the global memory of its successor, World War II, remains one of the most transformative conflicts in modern history, reshaping borders, societies, and warfare itself. While many know the war began in 1914 after the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary, fewer are aware of the sheer scale and human cost. Over 16 million people died, including both soldiers and civilians, and nearly 21 million were wounded. The conflict introduced mechanized warfare on an unprecedented scale, with the widespread use of tanks, airplanes, and poison gas forever changing military strategy. Trench warfare, a defining feature of the Western Front, created horrifying conditions where soldiers faced constant threats from artillery, disease, and the psychological toll of living in mud-soaked ditches for months on end. Interestingly, the war also spurred technological innovation beyond the battlefield. Developments in medicine, communications, and logistics often stemmed directly from the necessities of war. For instance, the first widespread use of blood transfusions and mobile X-ray units occurred during this period, saving countless lives. On a cultural level, the war altered art, literature, and public perception of heroism and sacrifice, inspiring works from poets like Wilfred Owen to visual artists who captured the stark realities of modern combat. One lesser-known fact is that World War I saw the introduction of military camouflage as a science, with entire units dedicated to concealing artillery, vehicles, and personnel. Additionally, animals played a crucial role. Horses, dogs, pigeons, and even camels were used for transport, messaging, and reconnaissance. The war also led to significant social changes, especially for women, who took on roles in factories, offices, and medical units, accelerating movements for suffrage and broader societal participation. On the diplomatic side, the treaties and negotiations reshaped global power dynamics, setting the stage for World War II. The Treaty of Versailles, often criticized for its harsh terms on Germany, inadvertently fueled political extremism and economic instability in Europe. Economically, the war created both devastation and innovation. Nations invested in new technologies and industries to sustain prolonged military campaigns, leading to long-term industrial growth in some regions despite immediate destruction. Another intriguing fact involves the relatively little-known Christmas Truce of 1914, where soldiers on opposing sides temporarily ceased fighting to exchange greetings and even play football in the no-man's land, a rare moment of humanity amid widespread carnage. The psychological impact of the war was immense, giving rise to what was then called shell shock, now recognized as post-traumatic stress disorder, highlighting the invisible wounds carried by survivors. Submarines and naval blockades became key strategic tools, with German U-boats attempting to choke Allied supply lines, which in turn contributed to the eventual entry of the United States into the conflict. On a global scale, colonies and dominions contributed vast numbers of troops, showing that World War I was truly a world war involving not just European powers, but nations across Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Technological milestones included the deployment of early aircraft for reconnaissance and bombing missions, paving the way for modern air forces. Chemical weapons, such as chlorine and mustard gas, introduced terrifying new dimensions to warfare, leaving lasting scars on both landscapes and human health. The war also led to the redefinition of borders, creating new countries and dissolving empires like Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire, with effects that reverberate even today. Economically, many countries experienced inflation and debt crises, demonstrating the long-term financial costs of global conflict. Some experts point out that World War I accelerated social modernization, from healthcare reforms to labor movements, as governments sought to support both military personnel and civilian populations. Meanwhile, the role of espionage grew significantly, with intelligence agencies expanding operations in ways that foreshadowed modern intelligence networks. Perhaps surprisingly, World War I also influenced sports and entertainment. Soldiers organized competitions, theatrical performances, and newspapers to boost morale, leaving a cultural imprint beyond the battlefield. Aviation pioneers gained prominence as aces like the Red Baron became legendary, while new military strategies integrated combined arms tactics, signaling a shift from traditional battlefield doctrines. The war even touched everyday life through rationing, propaganda campaigns, and the introduction of new consumer goods adapted from military production. Medical advancements such as antiseptics and reconstructive surgery dramatically improved survival rates and long-term care for injured soldiers. Furthermore, the war accelerated geopolitical shifts in the Middle East, leading to mandates and territorial changes that would influence regional conflicts for decades. Finally, despite the devastation, World War I demonstrated remarkable human resilience, from soldiers enduring unimaginable conditions to civilians adapting to shortages, rationing, and social upheaval. Its legacy remains embedded in modern society, from international law and military strategy to cultural memory and commemoration practices. And that's something worth remembering when you next reflect on the century that shaped our modern world.